All
Oh,
right.
hey, we're live.
We're live. We're here. Forgive me, I've got a little bit of a cough, so I'll be dealing with that this whole time. I'll do my best to not annoy everyone, but welcome. We're talking about Summit 2026. Kind of some of our opening things here. Some things I noticed. First, I'd just like to talk about Seattle versus Vegas. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Enjoyed it? Didn't enjoy it? What were the positives, the negatives? I can go first. I loved the space we were in. I thought the space was way cooler, personally. Being from the South, I didn't like the cold, but that's okay. I dealt with it.
We lucked out. We got some beautiful Seattle weather, which was nice.
Yeah, it didn't rain.
It didn't rain. It was nice. Nice to get out and not be in the Vegas smoke.
Yes, that was a different environment. Now there was more walking outdoors than there was in Vegas with crowds of people, which is always fun. They had the orange vests on at every turn you're supposed to take to kind of guide you, which was interesting. But it made it easy to get there, which was nice. So that's like home for you, Tucker. Was it nice going back home?
It was nice to see the mountains. Seattle's a great city, so love getting back there.
Awesome. Tim, Ryan, what about y'all?
I like the how streamlined the venue was. So you just had that one big long thing of escalators to go all the way from floor 1 to floor 5. I like that. Like there was no maze effect, and it wasn't disorienting. I felt like I always knew where I was in the building, and so yeah, I like that. And I also thought it was cool. Like this is the first time I think the summit's been at an official convention center. Like I remember the first one I went to back in 2016, which was in Orlando. We were at I think a Hyatt hotel. And I remember just learning from event people that like you start off at hotels, eventually in a certain spot, you're in Vegas because that's the only hotels that can handle you. And then eventually you get big enough where you can actually go to a convention center. So to me, it was kind of cool that we were at a convention center somewhere and brand new building also. I think that's worth noting in Seattle there. And so, I like the space also. I'm not a Vegas person either. I know some people are, so some people miss that, but I liked going outside instead of like fake Vegas outside where you're not sure if the sky is real or if you're still inside. And so, that I enjoyed that.
Fair. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think the biggest difference that I noticed was the ability, like being outside and being able to like say, hey, let's go eat dinner here, or let's go do something else outside of here, right? So you weren't confined, and it gave a lot of options to be able to, conglomerate and work with others and not shoved into one space and having to work at like a cafe that's incorporated to a hotel. So it was nice.
Yep, totally agree. Perfect. Well, one of the things that was kind of pervasive throughout Summit was this idea of a system of intelligence. Feels like a spinoff of what is it? Single source of truth, right? What does that transition mean for us? Like, do we feel like there's anything more to that? What are y'all's thoughts?
I think for me, it just strengthens the reason why I really like Acumatica. Because I think it's always felt like that with the way that it allows you to customize it. You can fit your business into the system rather than having to say, nope, that's what it has to do, and you have to fit your business to it, right? So I think all it does is it essentially says, hey, take all that logic, all that stuff that you can enhance, and just build it 5 times more, right? So it's just adding another piece to the stack that's already a really good stack to allow it to get to the next dimension. To me, it's just an extension of what they're already doing.
Yeah.
I think when I got into this space back in 2017, it was Acumatica was this promise that you put your data in here, you get it organized, and then it's going to make your business better. And I think that we've all kind of been in this space trying to empower businesses, make business better, make everything work and streamline efficiencies. It feels like where we're turning this corner where that's becoming easier, where the tools in Acumatica with the AI landscape, it feels like we're able to realize this dream we've all had about trying to make things easier and more efficient. And it feels like that's what it's converging on right now.
Yeah. I sort of, it's all to me around the model of your ERP is really feeding your AI models. And that's kind of what people have been, either really getting and nailing or missing the ball on, and they're kind of late to the game, not getting to a real good ERP and foundation with good data. It makes me think about when ChatGPT rolled out first. I was at a conference and there was this guy that asked me what I did. And I explained what we all try to explain to people who aren't in the space. And they're like, and his response was, oh yeah, you won't have a job in 2 years. This AI is going to take the place of you. I'm like, sure, whatever. I'm not having this conversation. Yep, probably, but the reality is like, it needs the data. That's what the ERP is there for. And it's a new layer on top of it, that's where I think you had the truth. Now you have the intelligence on top of the truth. It's like a next step forward. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the ways we're rolling out AI, some of the ways we're moving towards useful tech in that way, and not just hand wave AI, which I see a lot of. I'm sure we all have examples, right?
Rushing. And I think, that's the other thing, is that there's a lot of thought that's being given into how to roll out AI, because it's a big buzzword, and there's a lot of ways that you can do it, but you can, like you said, you can do it really wrong, or you can do it accurately. And ultimately, I think that's the way that Acumatica is going with a lot of this stuff, is really thoughtfully thinking about how users use this system and incorporating that accordingly.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim, what about yourself? What are your thoughts on this whole system of intelligence movement and the AI movement? How do you feel like we're doing?
So I'm going to give the bald-headed skeptical. You guys are probably going to shoot me. This is not towing the company line here, but we're 6 minutes in. We're already talking AI, which is great. We might just talk AI the rest of this whole thing, right? Because that's the big thing right now. And that whole tagline, system of intelligence, I think is nailing specifically the fact that we now have AI Studio and Acumatica 2026 R1. And for me, I'm comparing this whole AI thing to like back when I lived in this. I experienced this in the late 1900s, where the whole like .com boom, right? Websites here and there. I remember being in college at UCLA, and like we would always, there were T-shirts all over the place from different companies that were repping this, repping that. None of them were profitable. They were producing tons of swag. And right now it feels to me kind of similar to those days. And so I know we're totally going to have a bubble burst with the AI investment side of things, but the technology is real and it's going to stick around, right? It's just a question of who the major players are. And so, comparing that, and then also comparing my experience to getting involved with Acumatica in like 2013, where you had the whole transition from desktop to cloud. So based on those two experiences, I feel like this AI thing, even though it moves fast, it's going to take a while to play out in the real world. And if you just look at the Acumatica thing, they made this point in the partner, the general partner session, that still like less than 50% of companies are actually on a cloud ERP application. And that's been around for a long time, right? And so I think this AI, like actually adopting it in companies, is still going to take a while. And I'm still very much in like AI prototype mode. We should all be playing with AI and prototyping stuff and showing what it can do. But then actually building it into rigid company processes, I think is still going to take a while. And I'm not completely sold myself that the ERPs are the ones that are going to pull it off. I'm not sure. And I've always looked at ERP as a data in solution. BI has always been my data out solution. Now maybe AI is that, but I don't know if it's delivered in the ERP or not. It'll be interesting to see. But the promises is good, and the foundational tools are there for sure.
Yeah. So one of the things I always like to ask people is, we obviously work with tons of customers, and Tim, you work with tons of partners as well. Everyone talks about AI. Have you ever asked, like, what do you want to do with it, and gotten a good answer?
I haven't. Have you guys? I was curious your thoughts.
Every once in a while, someone has a really thoughtful response, but I feel like everyone just wants it, but they don't really know why, right? They're just like, I'm supposed to want it, so I want it, and it's going to solve problems, but I don't know which problems. And I think some of that's totally fair because it is so kind of wide open right now. And some of it's just like, this is the new buzzword, right? It's the new thing. So
anyone
I can't determine.
I'd love to hear some. I got some thoughts, but
I think their point, like, they're not all encompassing. It's more of like, this is a problem that someone has to do, and here's the logic to do it. I want the system to just go and process it. So like a step past automation, where you just tell it hard and fast rules. But I think that that's coming. So for instance, we can talk about, we've got Ryan here from Hackathon. He was actually one of the people who got awarded something. My team may or may not have gotten an award. But we built some cool stuff. But Ryan, what did y'all do with, because, in the AI studio, we had LLM prompts, we have the AI agents, but we really played around. Did anyone do anything besides LLM prompts with AI? Do you remember? I
don't think so. Because a lot, the thing of the hackathon was, how do you incorporate the LLM into the solution, right? And so you got points for that. So, so I think everyone figured out how to get that in there to some extent.
And I don't think you got points for it. I think you got no points if you didn't do it. That's how it seemed when they asked. They're like, "How did you use AI Studio?" It was like, "Oh, that was the whole. Like, if you didn't do that, you weren't even considered."
Yeah. No, but if we're asking about kind of what we did, so it was fun, but it always comes back down to, like, how do you intelligently utilize the AI, right? It's not just about, cool, it's there and you press a button and it does it, right? Like, because that's where I'm at. I'm like, I'm still old school, where I'm like, a good algorithm can get you really good places, right? Like, But so for the project that we did, it was pretty fun. Some other people in the team kind of put that forward, and we were like, yeah, sure, let's go ahead and build it. So we ultimately, the idea was that we wanted to kind of extend Acumatica to be more of an available system for either older generations, executives that don't have time, that are driving to work, right? Kind of doing more of the podcast sort of thing. And also for making it available for people who might not be able to read things. And what I mean by that is, the flow was, we would ultimately have your Acumatica as a podcast, right? So what does that mean? So we would actually go through the process of, we actually, with the studio, right? So the AI studio, let's break it down for a second there and kind of explain what that does. So what AI Studio allows you to do is, you are allowed to essentially have this prompt setup, right? It's a setup screen that allows you to actually set up this LLM prompt and say, okay, this is the data I want to pull in. You specify a screen in Acumatica. And then this is what I want to do with the data that exists on that screen, right? So it's a pull prompting screen. And then ultimately what happens is, if you go to that screen, so let's do a silly example here, stock item screen, right? I want it to run some analysis on some information on that stock item and maybe fill in a field for me on that stock item. So if I essentially say stock item is my screen, the prompt that I wanted to do is go ahead and review all of the past information that's on this screen and effectively tell me, how can I better prevent stockouts on this particular item, right? Silly example, but that's an example. And then what I do is I publish that, and it allows it to be now shown as an action on the stock item screen. So I click it, and it actually goes through. It goes and runs that data, sends it out to the LLM that you connect through the system, and then it spits back an advice. So like, it'd say, hey, based on prior information, this is what we think you should do, right? And it's all based on that prompt. And so then it fills out a field for you, and it says, okay, next item to process, right? So that's the basis of the AI Studio. So the concept that we had was, well, it's great to have it on a screen, but it's even better to have it on aggregated data. So we want to plug this to a GI, which is not currently supported. I'm sure it will be in the future. So we got a little clever and effectively figured out how to get a GI to pump into our own custom screen and then run the AI off of that. So it could be any information now on the screen that you generate a report off of, and then you can effectively have it to where it runs that prompt. Then what we did is we actually put that prompt on a schedule. So then it would essentially go in, it would grab that data in the morning, it would run the prompt on it, maybe summarize that data for you. And then what we could do is we actually had it where it would actually send it out to a language generator. So it would essentially take that information, turn it into a vocalized version of it, send it back to you as an attachment. And then the last piece of the process would be, it would actually send it out via email, text, whatever. So, as you're driving to work, you'd click it and it would actually read out to the podcast of whatever your business is doing. So it was a fun little example. But again, you can kind of see how that meets those needs of, hey, maybe I can't read the information on the screen because I have maybe a disability. So it extends the audience. Maybe I'm an executive and there's a lot of information and it's really fast and I need to have it all in one concise way, right? There's a lot of different ways in actually how you can utilize that from an accessorize or helping out get that information to the user. So anyways, it was a fun little one. We won some backpacks, so I'll take it. But yeah, that was ours.
Well, and the thing that I remember you showed me yours, and I was just immediately thought, well, this kind of solves the historical reporting problem immediately with what you built.
Yeah.
Which is like you can make a snapshot of what the data was the day before, and then you can do that every
Yeah.
day, and now
With the
you can
GI
report.
scraper. Yeah.
Yeah, which was really cool. The AI piece was really cool too, but that to me, I was like, that is a legitimate problem I would like to solve. So
Yeah.
Ryan was like, I did it in my spare time. Don't worry about it.
Something I'm really excited about with what Ryan was talking about is back to this whole idea of system of intelligence. We have so much data locked in the ERP that just doesn't get out. And people forget that we have employees that are putting time card data and putting time activities in. You've got your people going on site to jobs, and they're putting descriptions of what they're doing on the jobs. And usually that just sits in one little bubble, sits on an invoice, sits on a time card. But taking this concept that we can take all of that data, all of the time data and time entries that people are putting in, feed that into an LLM and raise that up and start taking some insights. What are people spending time on? What are we getting stuck on? It starts to take this data that's just been stuck in the ERP and start making it actionable. It's just feels like there's such a wealth of things we can do once we figure out what we want to do.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's still open. We're still trying to figure it out. So my team it was kind of similar. It felt like a lot of people had this idea of doing voice, right?
Yeah.
That somehow the voice was incorporated in AI. And so my team built a way to call into your ERP, pin code, get your verification. So it's like, oh, hey, Daniel, what do you want? And I'm like, hey, I want to review this customer. So then it pulls up the customer, gives me the LLM prompt that we created, which is how we tied that in, presses it, and then it reviews all the activity on that customer screen and says, here's what's happened in the past 3 months. Here's what you should do next. Here's, their sentiment, whatever. Kind of similar to what they showed. But that was the base. And then it also allowed you to log a task or an activity, which was kind of cool, just via voice. But the next step for us was to take it, like Tucker said, and give it to somebody in the field. They call in, they say, hey, I'm on the site for, a bartender, and I need to know what their work history was, for instance. And it pulls back all the data, right? And it says, well, we were on site a month ago and we didn't actually finish it. Looks like we didn't follow up. Now that person knows all that data, doesn't have to dig through their system and figure it out. It just kind of is fed to them. And then they can actually log their time through voice. Like, hey, I was there. I got in at 8. I'm leaving at 5:45 right now. Please log my time in the call. Like, you don't even have to do anything. And then the other piece we thought about that may have been a little bit harder to build, but we decided not to because it would have probably put us over the time limit, and you never want to show up with half of a product. But the outbound scheduler, hey, you've got, or confirmation, right? You've got an appointment tomorrow for the service industry. The Tucker Haas will be there at 8 a.m. Are you good with that, or do you need to reschedule? And then they can confirm. No one has to think about it. You don't need someone making that call. The system kind of does it all for you. That would be the ways that I would love to see us move. I think it's more than just the LLM prompt for that kind of stuff. There was integrations to 2 or 3 different tech stacks to make that happen on our process there, but it was really cool. The ability for AI to actually communicate and understand voice and communicate back in voice is incredible. So I'm excited to see that.
And I think that also goes to what Tim was saying, right? Is that, it might not be the ERPs of the world that maybe translate this, but I think what it also can allow ERPs to be able to do is be able to extend itself into those other industries where, these companies have spent years building these things that are very specific, field service scheduling, where it's like, we can go ahead and just go give it a prompt and it goes and does that overnight, right? Like, I think the speed to be able to spit those things out is where we're going to get efficiency from an ERP perspective, if we're really trying to look for not just this data storage, but also a doer, right? I think that there's data comprehension, but there's also doing of stuff for us.
Yep. And it's going to start to diminish that divide between the operations side and the finance side. That usually is where the friction comes in the ERP. You'll get the data more direct from the field in a better consumable way for the back end, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Cool.
A little funny there was, and I just spit this out just from the hackathon, just because we were talking about it. But one of the groups, it was someone else that we were working with. So Dioris, one of our favorite employees.
Yes.
But
Get on the stage.
they all got on stage. I think they got third place. And they had a voice idea too. They started asking it. And they're like, all right, here's how you do this. And so they started asking it and they're like, yep, cool. This is great. This is a great presentation. And then they kept on going into their presentation. They put their phone down and then they started like asking, rhetorical questions to the audience, and the phone started answering them and like starting to be a know-it-all right in front of it. So
they couldn't turn it off either. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, it's here to stay.
Well,
like, no, I'm going to help you with your problems. And a shout out to the team that won. They had a mobile field version of service that allowed you to speak Spanish. It incorporated it. It made follow-up appointments. It was really slick, and they did it with no code.
Zero customization. Yep.
Unreal. And the thing that they probably didn't get credit for outside of or in the announcements is the guy that presented for them was incredible. That was one of the best presentations I've ever seen. So I remember watching that going, they're probably going to win. Like,
how do you present the data? Yeah.
Yep. It's 50% of hackathon, honestly, is presenting it well. You have the coolest idea. If you fumble the presentation, you're not going to win. So very cool. Tim, you weren't there this year. Have you ever done hackathon before?
I have, and I require too much sleep just in general. I realized I can't do it and then go into Summit. But I did show up for some of the presentations. Yeah, Ryan, I think I caught yours. I didn't catch the winning presentation. No.
Okay. Yeah, they were pretty early on.
But yeah, I've heard like two themes here, right? So like Ryan and Dan, you mentioned both like voice. We know generative AI is good at that. Tucker, you mentioned the mountain of data that's in ERP and making use of that. That's another great use case. And then another one that sort of started to occur to me at Summit. I'm always going to be a curmudgeon, a laggard in adoption. That's just the way my brain works. But I started to see it, especially thinking about image recognition. And so I listened to a podcast episode recently from it's the CEO of Zapier interviewing the CEO of a company called Fetch. And the Fetch CEO had a really interesting insight. He's like, I knew that my company needed to be playing with these tools. And eventually he got to the point where he shut his company down for a whole week and did a hackathon with all 1,000 employees. But what caused him to turn that corner was actually in his personal life. So he was cooking something. He took a picture of it, sent it to ChatGPT. How do I prepare this steak or whatever it was? And it figured out like his stove, that it was a gas stove. It figured out what kind of pan he was using and the kind of steak it was, suggested how to prepare it. He followed the instructions, and everyone that night said it was the best steak they'd ever had. That was the turning point for him. So kind of going back to this prototyping thing, I think images are also another great use case. Like think about in construction, or a quality control situation where you could take the image and essentially have the AI extract the data that you need out of that image and put it in the ERP. Or even like in a receiving, like in a distribution situation, I'm on the dock. I just need to receive this pallet, take a picture of it. I don't know. I think it might be pretty good at telling you how many is on that pallet, right? So I think that's another, just throwing that out as like a third good general use case. Then we got to drill down and find those specific big wins that add tons of value. But I think that's another good general one.
Yeah. And I think we're not super close to having a system or an automated process that runs without input. I think we're going to find point solutions like that, where it's like that one thing that just automates. And we're going to build those wins before people, number one, trust it. Number two, start using it. So we'll build those up, and then eventually we'll be moving towards the like more automated process without you having to interact. So I know that at Trailed, y'all have plenty of that in the system and have for a while. Y'all were kind of ahead of the curve on some of the AI stuff, right?
Yeah, that was a big reason. One of the big reasons why I went to work at Trailed is because I knew this AI shift is happening. And to me, the best use case I knew of is automating accounts payable invoices that are done on paper, especially in the United States. And to me, that was a slam dunk. And then knowing that you needed to do a company that was built from scratch on that tech rather than trying to add it in, just because I lived that story with the whole desktop to web. You had ERP slapping on web on a desktop application. It's messy, but built from scratch, it's a totally different story. So yeah, that was and so that use case slam dunk, like AP automation, but it's all these other use cases that we're all trying to figure out that I still have. I'm hunting for them also, right? But we know they're there, but we're all still in this discovery, and I think that's why like things like this where we just compare notes is so important, because we're all like playing in different areas, and the more we compare notes and find out what people are working on, the faster that's going to move for us personally. And then also, you know, for society as a whole, or however you want to phrase it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. So let's see here. We've got a general outline, which everyone knows I'm great at following outlines. So we're right on track. We actually skipped over something here, talking about I think it's kind of cool. It does make me a little obsolete as a person, but the GI using SQL now in the system. Here I am.
Nothing beats SQL.
yeah, SQL. It's going to be so much faster. That was a really cool thing I saw roll out that I'm excited about, and more than anything, I'm excited about it because I think it makes it easier for everybody, because they can just prompt chat to write a SQL query for the database, and they can just paste it in. Like that feels like, I haven't tried it to be fair, but that feels like it's going to solve a lot of problems. There's my disclaimer. I have not tested that theory, but I don't know.
Wait,
what
are you guys? I missed this one. Are you guys talking about like the AI assistant writing GIQL or GeekWell?
Yes. So not the AI assistant doing it. I'm more thinking like end users at this point. Maybe one day they'll be able to do that, and maybe they are with the AI prompts where it builds a graph. I bet you that's how they're getting there. But I'm more thinking, you know, our users want GIs a lot of times, and we tell them we can train you on it, we can teach you how to do it. But if it's complex, it's probably easier to pay for an hour for us to build it, right? Or whatever it may be. But some of them want to learn, some of them don't. Either way, we're happy to help. But when it comes down to it, if you have ChatGPT write SQL, it's going to be really good at it. It was spotty writing the, you know, XML version of the GIs, but now that you can just paste in a query, it feels like that's going to make it really simple for people to get their data. I could be off, but
I feel like a big piece that we've all been told and seen is that AI, you can't trust AI. You go to ChatGPT, ask it a question, you're like, it's not a doctor. Let's not go put that on or take that medicine. Let's go check with a real person. I think what this takes us down a road though is chat and these AIs, they're not giving you the answer. They're just writing that little piece of SQL that then goes into and gets that data from your ERP or from your source. And I think this is a really important pivot away from, it's not going to give you the wrong answer, because all it's doing is writing you the question that then is going to give you the answer. And I think this is the way we get towards more trusted data, more accurate data, and make it quicker for our customers to get that in their hands. It's just,
I'm definitely looking forward to digging into
that.
that.
I've had a lot of experience with ChatGPT writing Python code for me, and that's been a total win. Yeah, because then I can look at it, I'm like, oh, you got it. You just saved me a ton of time, and I can trust it because I'm not now running ChatGPT. I'm running actual code, and it is really good at code. I do want to. So, are we saying that you're talking about ChatGPT writing SQL, or are you talking about it writing GeekWell to put into a GI in the advanced mode? Which one are we talking about?
That's what I'm thinking it can do. I could be totally off in that assumption.
So GeekWell. So it's not the same as SQL. So it's going to have to learn GeekWell, but I'm sure that won't be hard for it. But yeah, that is a cool scenario. Yeah.
And the more, to your point, the more niche something is, the less capable chat and all the AI bots are at doing it. If you ask for a really common language or something that's not specific, it's pretty good. Like it writes pretty solid block of code that you want someone to edit and make sure, but you can't just ship it all the time. But it gets you pretty dang close. But the more niche it is, the more it kind of doesn't know what to do, and it guesses very confidently, which is always fun.
I think
the
key to that though is if you have the syntax document and say this is what it looks like, you just load that in and you just prep the model, and then you can get it to hug it pretty well. I've been using it a ton for SQL stuff, just plugging into Snowflake. So I'm really excited to be able to drop the geek. What do we call it, Tim? GeekWell?
So I picked that. I think it was Jeremy Sharp who came up with it. It's GIQL, but I like his pronunciation, GeekWell. I'm sticking with that guy. GIQL.
Yeah. Love that. Let's talk about some of the things that have come out. Some of these are not necessarily brand new. Some of them have been there since 25R2. So they're relatively new. And as we upgrade our customers, 25R2 will be this next upgrade for our 24R2s that are retiring. So it's going to be new to our customers. Some of the ones that I've messed around with, the Project 360 dashboard, which is, I think, called Project Status Dashboard or something like that. That's a pretty slick little dashboard. Have you all messed around with it at all? It's all built off of the new cost projections. So if you don't have those used, it loses some of its power. But any insight there that y'all have? Has anyone messed around with it? I've been geeking out over it, so I'm happy to fill all the space. So it's more or less a dashboard that allows you to kind of page through different dashboards, if that makes sense. So you can look at a bunch of KPI tiles, and then you can click in and you can see all of your budget lines. You can click in, you can see all of your tasks. It's built like the project screen with the same kind of capabilities. There's a couple things missing, I believe, but it gives you really nice visuals into the project. So if you haven't checked that out, it's worth checking out, but it's all driven off of this new cost projection by date, I think it is. Have you all messed around with that? No, I'm going to be filling all this space.
Yeah.
I'm excited though. I'm excited.
The only thing that I've seen is what you've shown us, and it's super exciting. And I think, to me, I get really excited that they're giving the construction, field service, those areas love, and really like understanding that and building into that. I get really excited about that, and no matter what, that's always a win for the industry.
Yeah. Yep. And they're absolutely focusing in.
Hey guys.
Hey, our moderator's here.
I'm late to the party. Yeah. Let me show y'all kind of what that looks like visually. This is what that new dashboard that Daniel's talking about, the 360 view, looks like. And it's pretty sleek. I think that with the new UI and with just the new capabilities that we're able to do on the construction side of things, it's just really going to be a elevated experience for our construction customers. So I just wanted to throw the dashboard up on the screen because the dashboards are always beautiful to look at. So, but I finally made it to the party. So
we're glad you're here.
I'm curious what you think, Tim, about kind of where Acumatica is going with BI. Like we see some of the dashboards, they're rethinking how the design of dashboards going. Where do you think about BI?
Well, yeah, I want to hear what you guys think, but yeah, I'll give you my thoughts. So that one specifically, as far as I can tell, it's not like the regular dashboard engine. It's a coded screen, and it's because that thing on the left-hand side where you're able to go through like the project tabs. Yeah, that thing on the left where it's got like the financials, subcontracts, that stuff. And so that was interesting. Is that a new direction? I don't know. Historically, I feel like Acumatica has been really good at building tech, but not good at building out the use cases. I feel like that's starting to change. I'm really happy about that. Like, here's a perfect example of it. We're seeing more and more like, hey, let's use the tech we have to build out functional things for our customers. So super happy about that. And then when you say BI, like, I think they're setting up, I don't know if you guys caught this, but they announced a feature that might be coming in 26R2, where you'll be able to run generic inquiries on a process and have it save the results in a table, or even ingest data from outside of Acumatica. And you need that as the foundation to be able to put any meaningful dashboard together. And we haven't had that. We've got the pretty dashboards, but the ability to bring the data that we need together and have it not take 10 minutes to run, you need that underlying tech. So I think that's coming in 26R2. And so to me, that's also a big key on the BI direction. I don't know though, like what we're seeing on the screen, is this the new direction for the visual layer? I'm not sure on that part. What do you guys think?
I kind of like what they've got here. And to your point, this is definitely not a standard dashboard. I was hoping that it would be something we could build off of, right? How they give us dashboards, we can do whatever we want with them. That's great. But if we can add in that ability to kind of page through like they've got here, that would be a game changer for displaying the data. So I'm hoping that might be coming. Acumatica, that'd be great. We'd love that. But even still, I think your point's right. They're giving the data in a more consumable format right now. It was a little bit more stale, and stuff like this makes me think they're really leaning into the user experience side even more, which is fantastic. So the cost projections by date are what powers this, and I'm trying to see if I can pull up my demo environment here. It doesn't have any data in it. That's not helpful. But maybe the other server will. But the cost projections by date have, they've kind of addressed a problem that I've heard a few times, which is like your accounting side wants all the details. So every single line on a budget, they want a cost projection for. That's the best way to do it. Makes sense, right? It's more detailed, more accurate. And then sometimes your PMs in the field want to give you a high level total for the project because that's easier. It's quick. We're about 25% done, or the costs are going to be $1.5 million instead of $1.4 million, right? Whatever it may be. So they want to just ship that instead. And the new version doesn't make you go down to the line level. You can actually give that cost projection at the high level or by any group. I think that is going to be helpful in getting data in the system. I think that's where the friction comes in, and you want the field putting the data in, but they have to do it in a way that actually works. And so we're kind of making that barrier less and less every time we release these things that make it more flexible for those folks. And let's see here.
So we're talking about a separate thing now. This is not the dashboard thing, right?
It is. So yeah, it is the cost projections by date. They do power the dashboard, which is kind of why I moved there. And I can share.
And was this a 25R2 thing or a 26R1 thing? Do you know?
25R2, yeah.
No.
There we go.
So we get to play with it. Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's in there. So I sort of found it a couple months back because I was trying to demo the dashboard for the project status. And turns out you need these. So if you're not doing these, you're missing out on all the KPI drivers because it drives off of the cost of completion. So what I've got here, y'all can see my screen, I believe. They've added the ability to go down to which budget level do you want to go at. So if you say task and update, it's going to go ahead and load my tasks. So these are all the tasks on this dummy data, right? And instead of doing it down to the detailed budget line, you now can just do it for the tasks for your costs. You can also change it to be at the cost code level. So some folks don't want to do task. They want to do cost code, and it does that flexibly. So now you can kind of go through, and however you want to project the cost, you can do it. Another thing, you can add in those pending COs. So if you have change orders that have not been released yet, they're starting to think about those things because maybe they haven't gotten all the way through the approval process, but you want to count it in your WIP. This is part of that. And I think this tool is going to allow the entry process to be easier. What I've heard a lot of folks in the field do is you've got a once a month meeting with your PM team. You get all the data downloaded for each PM for each of their projects. You put it in an Excel sheet and then you upload it in the system, and that's how you get this data. So we can maybe even take that. We may never get the meeting out of the way because that's helpful communication wise, right? Figure out where things are, unblock things, but inputting it directly in the system instead of into a Excel sheet that you got to figure that all out, that could be huge. So I'm excited about this and what it's going to do.
And also nerding out too, you also brought up that the last piece of this, which is kind of outside of the reporting piece but related, is the WIP entry piece now, right? So you don't have to do these finagling, like it'll actually generate that WIP entry, WIP adjustment for you, which is huge. They're understanding. So to Tim's point, they're understanding the industry and they're really building this out.
Yeah, this one's cool. So like what you used to do manually and run your WIP report. Everyone has a WIP report. We've always had a WIP report, right? It's not like a new thing.
Which cost predictions can help influence that. Yeah.
Yep. And so this is the backup for the WIP, and it takes into account all your cost projections, and it can kind of show you which one it took into account. So you get all the data to look backwards, and it's not just an Excel export that you have, right? It's in the system, and it will actually post the WIP entry for you based on how you set this all up. Yeah, create your GL batch. I mean, I think this is really cool. I really nerded out when I started playing with this tool a little bit more. So Do you think that there's going to be hesitation to do this, Ryan?
No, I've built a customization that does this in the past because it was so needed, and it's here now. So I'm super excited about that, and it works exactly how that worked. It's industry standard, and I'm sure there's nuances, right? Everyone says that their whips, it's standard, but everyone's whip is different, right?
A little different, yeah.
But I think it should cover a good piece of the, probably 90% of the customers out there.
Yep. I'm very excited about it. I think in general, this could be a huge game changer for Acumatica, because I don't believe this is happening in anyone else in our competitors. So it's really cool stuff. So that's already available. That's in a version that's been released for a couple months now. Some of our customers have even moved there, and even more will be moving soon as we upgrade our next round. All
yeah,
right.
I'll just underscore again, like, so we just hit 2 construction specific things, but I'll just hit that point again. Like, just by sheer age count, the 2025 R2 release notes were like the longest in over 5 years. And my theory on this is that, well, I don't know that that's really even a theory. I think the explanation for it is that Acumatica for like the last 5 to 6 years has been investing about 50% of their developer resources into this whole modern UI thing, which is way more than a UI. There's a whole, it's basically a new product. And now that they're nearing the finish line on that, they're freeing up, they're going to like double their developer resources to now be able to apply it to more of these industry specific things. So I think the product managers who have this huge list of things they want to build out for customers are now like, yeah, we can have the developers actually work on this stuff. And I think that's why we saw a ton of this in 25 R2. We're seeing it again in 26 R1. And now that like the whole stuff, foundational stuff we can't see is pretty much done, I think we're going to see a lot more of these types of things like we just covered. And that's really cool. I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, and that's kind of something I've been thinking about. The exact same thing is we've been working on the not fun stuff. Say we, literally, I have done nothing. But Acumatica has been working on the not fun stuff, right? To build the foundation that we can now build the cool stuff on top of. If you just build the cool stuff and it's on a foundation of saying it's gonna crash. So
I know we talk about UI and it just being like new buttons with rounded edges and stuff like that, but UI feeds directly into UX, like user experience. And I think that with this elevated look comes elevated user experience. Things are easier to find, things are easier to read, the application is easier to navigate. I think that configuration is easier to adapt to the way that you work. So I think that it's not only a UI lift, it's a UX lift as well. That happened in 2025 R2.
Well, and I'll add one more point to that, and it's not there yet, but all that under the hood plumbing that they redid also will make it a lot faster. And I actually saw a slide with stats by screen on like the sales order screen, for example. It's going to be like more than twice as fast just moving around navigating. So yeah, part of that UX, it's just speed. It's going to be a lot faster.
Yeah. Is there any sort of reason to think that will come after they finally depart from the old UI? Because right now
that's my understanding at this point. Yeah, because right now they're supporting both. And when they finally drop the old one, like push it out of the plane, it's like now all that weight is gone. That's
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, because it's similar right now. That I did get some feedback. We actually we did an upgrade last night, so our internal Acumatica is now on this version, which is fun. But I got a note from one of our employees. They said we had 0 issues. Like this, it doesn't even feel like we upgraded. And they said it is a little faster. And I was like, well, nice, love that. So I don't know. Maybe we're seeing some of it now. So I brought up the screen modification thing here. So you can see these little gear icons. Previously, we had to do this all via customization. And really the configuration was about how you wanted to lay out your tabs on a grid, right? That was kind of where the users got to. And now you can move these fields around. You can change what is showing and what's not showing. And you can add more fields that are available. You still have to add the availability of them in the code, but once they're on there, you can have the team drag and drop what's relevant. So maybe they don't care about some of this stuff. They can drop it and they can do personal configurations, which I think is cool. still new to us, right? We're still moving our customers onto this. We're still getting our arms around it. But the ability for customers to personalize by the employee and not just like, here's the layout, hope you like it. Like that's wild. And Selena glossed over this, but look at those rounded edges. Come on. Like people love this. Dan doesn't love a good rounded edge.
Make this look really easy, Daniel. Is it real? Could anyone learn how to do this? Like, could you just take any, I don't know, president of a company and then just have them play around a little bit and figure out how to do this?
If I can do it, I feel like anybody can do it. But yeah, it feels. You saw I just clicked a button or two, right? I clicked this and I clicked.
Hey, before you click, I think Ryan has to drop. Ryan, any parting thoughts?
My parting thought is, I'm going to get a little technical on this, is that this was all supported from the ASPX side, right? And so that's why, like, the calendar board, it was all JavaScript, right? They had to write it outside the framework. What this modern UI allows them to do is dynamic, right? So now you can start doing those drag and drop features. You can start building out the foundations there. They can start building out those things that it's like, man, it'd be so nice if directly within the framework. So that's where my brain gets excited, is there's so much untapped potential with those dynamic pieces that we don't have to now do outside the system. We can do within it. So, and then, yes, like Tim said, I need to jump, but thank you so much for having me. This is great, exciting, it's fun to nerd out.
Thanks for being on, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
All right, bye guys.
So, yeah.
Sorry, Daniel, you were clicking a gear icon.
Yeah, perfect. So if I go in here and I do screen configuration, you can see here, I can kind of like what we used to have with the layout on the tabs, right? Where it was like, apply this over everyone, override personal configuration, stuff like that. Looks like you can still do that here. You can always roll back to whatever the default was for the organization. But you can also bring in your personal one, which I have not tested this, but the fact that you've got this button makes me think even if you get applied over, you can roll it back, which I think is cool.
Let's test it live. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
I mean, I wouldn't even know where to start. Yeah, we can move some stuff around and apply.
No, I'm totally kidding.
And I'm going to apply it to all. We're going to do it.
Okay.
And now it's moved. And I guess someone else is going to have to revert back to personal configurations. Yeah, if you have one, you got it in here, that specific user, that's sick. I mean, you could have every individual create their own screen their own way. I would be careful about too much of that.
I think that undoes it. Hit reset to default.
There you go. Moved right back.
Perfk.
Yep.
This is why we always test in live environments.
Yes.
I love this not for adding fields, but for removing fields. Like in our trail CRM, there's like a bazillion fields on a record, and I only care about like 5 of them. So I just want to be able to turn them all off. And yeah, being able to hide the stuff and only get the stuff I care about, including tabs. I think you can even move tabs around, hide tabs. So I love. I think
so. Yeah, like this. Let's see what that does. Oh, I just hid the header of it.
I hit the one down on the grid, the details, financial approvals, that gear icon. I think you can turn off a whole tab.
Oh yeah.
I'm excited.
That's pretty cool.
That we can now train our customers how to do this, and they can let's give you a training. You go touching the screen. I feel like we just spend a ton of time doing customizations, updates, doing it for them. Like it just feels so empowering. Feels like a very different direction for Acumatica.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
And I think when you have that like empowerment within the customers, usability goes up, like user adoption goes up. They're not annoyed that they have to contact strategies group anytime they want to remove a tab from a screen. So yeah, going off of your point, Tucker, like it gives a lot of power to the customer.
And this is cool. I didn't even realize this. So these little pin icons, right? You can add and remove pins. It all has to do with when you hide or minimize that top part, right? If you want to just shrink down your view, you can. It's sort of like the pins over here. It's almost that same functionality of the show less, and here's my focused menu. It's very cool. It's very cool. I believe we just got a comment about UDFs.
We got a comment.
Believe you can bring UDFs in here. That was one of the big things that I remember reading about. I have not tried it, again, disclaimer, but I believe you can now put them on here, which is going to be super helpful to end users, because now you could have a UDF and you don't even have to worry about go into a new tab, things like that for it. It could be
Which is
directly on the screen.
a user-defined field.
User-defined field.
I'm sorry.
yes.
Thank you.
Whatever field you
User-defined
want to
field.
add. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
So
this. Go ahead,
Sorry,
Selena.
go ahead.
No.
No, you're good. I was gonna clarify what you were talking about. So I think what you're getting at is now you can transition UDFs throughout a life cycle. So you could start it in a quote and it'll go from the quote over to a project on the construction side of things. But I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
That wasn't exactly it, but that is one of the really cool things
Okay.
that is coming up, which we can talk about with UDF specifically. But what I was more talking about is you can add it in the header information. There used to be like a toggle on and off for the UDF. You'd be on either the form or the UDFs, user-defined fields, and that's that is something that they've updated, which is really cool. You used to be able to do it via code, but I think it's going to be really powerful for folks to be able to create their own fields, right? You can do that. Let me show that really quick. So you can just go to an attribute.
Tucker. Andrew's comment is hiding Tucker.
Sorry, I'll take Andrew's
There
comment.
he is.
Thought it was just me.
So you can add your own field here, right? Whatever it may be, whether it's a text field, number, combo is like a selection drop down type thing, and then save. No code needed.
Do you guys see it?
No, I don't
opened
see
up a
it.
new tab. Hold on. I'm sharing a single tab.
You're only sharing one tab.
Yep. Hold, please. Thank you for that. So on here, we've got all these ones, these are all examples, but you can make a checkbox. You can make single selection drop down. You can make a multi-selector drop down, which are really a nightmare to report on. I don't recommend them, but you can. Date time. You could do a lookup to another field in the system, and you can do all of that with just this. And then you just take this and go back to the screen, whatever it may be, and add it to that screen. So
let's see it.
Instead of in the.
Sorry, go ahead.
So that would be instead of in that user-defined fields tab that we used to have, right?
Yeah, I guess we're gonna test it live because I've never done it. I just remember someone telling me that you can do that.
What's confusing is the screen's called attributes. That's an old name, but attribute, user-defined field are almost the same thing now.
Yes. Let's see here. Don't know. It does depend on where you're at. Templates.
I think you still have to add it to the project screen first, don't you? Isn't there still like a user-defined field thing in the menu?
You're right. You're right.
No, not there. Yeah, I think there in the gear icon, I think. Isn't there still something? Yeah, manage. So you got to add it here first. So first you have to tell it, hey, out of all these user-defined fields in the attribute screen, these are the ones I want on this particular screen. That's what you're doing here.
Yep. Add it. Click OK. So this was the standard way to do it, right? And then when I go back, we'll see if it gives us the option.
And then the annoying thing was it's going to be on its own separate tab somewhere, right?
Yes, it used to be a tab up here. And so
where is it?
See if we can find it here now. There we go. I love it when doing it live blind works out, right?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, put it wherever you want. Oh, I love that.
So much
cool. I should probably take that off. Shannon's going to ask questions. This will be our demo site. So they don't love when I mess around with their stuff. But yes, drag and drop, apply to all, overwrite. It's gone. So it's that simple to add a new field that you want, and then you can report on it. You can drive any sort of GIs or business events on it. Like it's going to expand the functionality for people. They could before, but I don't even know. Maybe, you know what? We can show the classic.
It was tough to get it in the workflow because it was a separate tab. It added clicks. No one likes to add clicks.
Right here, user-defined fields.
Yeah.
You'd have to go in here and go, and then go back. So people forget, or they're like, oh shoot. So it was not as seamless. And now the fact that you can just drop it anywhere on the screen, that's really, really cool. And this is what we talked about. The old version is still preserved, right? The user-defined fields would live this way in the old version, but the modern UI, you'd put them on the screen. And that's available.
Got another comment. We got another comment from Andrew.
Andrew's right.
Yeah, there is a little difference between them. Yeah.
Yes,
agreed.
Andrew. You're 100% correct. There's a variation in how you report on them. Certain things when you want to do kind of dynamic filtering and things like that off of the user defined field, that's when you have problems, or makes it a little bit more difficult. But they are there attached to the table. They're called, I think it's like attribute and then the ID of the attribute, whatever that was, and that's what they show like.
The only
Is
weird.
Andrew going to join us?
Oh, that'd be.
He's on
I don't
the
know.
call.
That's what I was thinking. Should I text him?
Get him in.
Yeah, we got an open seat. The only weird thing with those UDFs is they're exposed differently on the web service endpoints, and you can't always integrate into them. So I'm hoping that Acumatica makes that easier in the future.
Yeah, my take is that user defined field is the new way. Attributes will slowly get phased out. That's what's happened so far. And yeah, there's still some gaps they have to fill, but I think eventually it'll work itself out.
Well, and there's certain screens that don't, this is like a wild goose chase, but there's a couple screens that don't have UDFs on them because they're kind of ancient. And I guess no one ever really asked for it. And they're like, nah. So they still have to have attributes. I want to say employee screen is one of those, but I could be wrong. I think the contract management module absolutely has it that way. But anyways, those are some of the lesser required things.
Can I hit two self-promotion things and one strategy group promotion thing? All right. So first self-promotion thing, where did I put it? Okay. So I went through the keynotes like I do every year, and I put all my notes on the keynotes at this link, augforums.com/summit2026. And I specifically want to point out link number 3 on the day 2 keynote. I put my typical snarky commentary in there when they announced their competitor product for Velixo Excel-based reporting. I won't say anything more, but if you want to hear my snarky commentary on their Velixo replacement, head over to this link and click on the 3rd button down. So there's one self-promotion thing. Second one is Trail got ISV Partner of the Year, which is not a popularity contest. It's purely based off of the most popular selling ISV product in this case, 2025. So we get the award in 2026. And then the last thing is a strategies group self-promotion thing. There's also an Acumatica Customer of the Year. And that was pretty cool. Daniel, you got to be on stage to have that conversation with that customer. So those are my 3 promotion things.
Woo!
We also, to be fair, we won Construction Partner of the Year too, which we're pretty pumped about. 2nd year. So self-promotion for ourselves. But the Customer of the Year was really cool. That was a great story.
StormSmart Building Systems. Yeah, you want to tell us about them? Or
yeah, StormSmart, great team. Really intricate use case for Acumatica, right? They have a ton of automation in their system. They have an integration to a manufacturing custom building solution thing that dumps into a BOM in Acumatica. They have an integration from Salesforce for their sales side, and then they use service, they use construction, they use inventory. They're all over.
They just went live on manufacturing.
They did.
Right, during the summit, right? I think they mentioned that on stage. Yeah.
February 2nd, they went live.
The fun thing, so little background on the whole process for being on the stage. There's so much prep work that they put into it. That is a genuine production. It is really cool seeing the backside of that screen. There's like, I told the team, there's like 20 feet of space between that wall and the back wall, and there's probably 40 to 50 people just on computers just plugging away.
Did you get a makeup person? Did you get a makeup person?
There was a makeup person. Yes, it was odd, but yes, that is one of the things they do as well. They're like, oh, you'll shine if you sweat up there. You got to do this thing. So it was a cool experience just seeing the backside of everything and how behind the scenes people are in the zone ready to go on stage. They're all phenomenal once they get out there. And the prep that went into even just a small conversation and the just kind of, getting the nerves out. That the StormSmart team was really great to work with on that. It was a blast. I had a lot of fun. So, and they absolutely deserve to be up there. It's a really cool story, and they have really leaned into Acumatica as a system of intelligence as we're moving towards, right? So they've really, really leaned into that, which is cool. So shout out to them. Definitely well deserved. And we've got another customer on here who last year was construction customer of the year. And
hey, I'm going to hand my baton to Andrew. I got to bounce for a dentist appointment. Enjoy the party, and I'll watch the rest of it asynchronously. I'll see you guys.
Awesome. See you,
Thanks
Tim.
for joining us, Tim.
Welcome, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything. I'm not sure I have anything notable to say. I was just like, I missed the start, and I was like, dang it. And then
you got in, you started commenting, calling me out.
UI for me because I haven't gotten a chance to get to it yet.
Well, then I have a question for you, Andrew. What was your favorite feature that they highlighted at Summit for 2026 R1, or your favorite feature in 2025 R2 that they've highlighted? I know you aren't yet on
we're not yet. No, we're in 25 R1. We're trying to work towards turning on the modern UI in the 25 R1.
Yep.
And the thing the thing that sparked in me as far as like, how could we practically use that was, the way we do our CRM is maybe non-traditional in that, like, when we have opportunities, we just create a project right then. And then what we found is kind of the lowest friction model to get our business development guys to update status is not to put in an individual activity, right? Because it's like it's basically creating a transaction in the system. So what we tell them to do is we just put in all of their business development notes in the note text of that project. But we're not always great at it. And so the thing that sparked to me was like, oh, I think I could use the large language model to basically, when it receives an email of a certain type. So I think I could do some business events to basically say, hey, Mr. Salesperson, you have a project that we're considering that is outside of our aging requirements, right? Hey, it's an A, we need it updated every 30 days or every 14 days, whatever the number is. So I'd love to be able to send them an email within a week that says, hey, you have projects that's nearing its aging date. I need an update. Please reply back to this email. And my hope is that I can use that large language model to kind of clear out all the junk from the way that email text comes back into Acumatica. Because if you've ever done a GI that tries to read it, it has all of the HTML in it.
Yeah.
And so to get down to something really usable that you can import is almost impossible. Yeah. Because I think you're supposed to use the incoming email processing through CRM, but since we don't use CRM, we've kind of back-channeled some of that. And so anyway, so that's my hope, is to maybe be able to use it where, I could, and I mean, I'm even thinking potentially, well, maybe that would be a reason to turn on an SMS integration, right? To say, hey, you've got this thing, just shoot me a text back that tells me what it is, what the update is. So that's the part. I've got just more thinking around, obviously around AI, but kind of drilling down to a more practical application of using that large language model that sits in there.
We're actually working internally on doing something similar to what you're talking about. And it's since AI Studio isn't here yet, we're using N8N, which is a common kind of integration tool and kind of sits in that AI space. But we're taking all of our fireflies that sit in the meeting and they take these AI notes.
Yeah.
We take it with N8N, feed it back into a large language model to be able to fix and pretty up in what comes out in those transcripts. It's all like the /N for new line, and the formatting doesn't look great. We send it to chat and it comes back HTML formatted and it drops directly onto an activity note. And then we're able to participants, meeting summary, and then have each one of those recordings have their own activities that are just auto updated on the project.
Yeah,
that's interesting, because I could see that application for us, because again, we don't use the activities inside, like individually people don't record them. But if we could have something like that where if if you're using like the Teams AI summary or even the Teams recording, if we could use that to then just tell the project manager, hey, forward that to this thing and let it put that summary into your project. I think that might be the thing that those large language models, that the AI Studio portion of Acumatica might help with, is being able to get more data and activity into the system without doing it like the right way, right? Where it's like, hey, can we just let the guys forward an email and say, hey, system, figure it out. If you can't figure it out, ask this person.
Yeah.
As far as like what job does it go to or what task does it go to, or, you know, things like that. That's the part that I think you're starting to get to some of that like agentic sort of stuff where it's, hey, we're turning the AI models into kind of mini executive assistants to help make our guys, to help it so that the way they communicate with our system is more like how they talk to a person and less how you interact with the computer.
I really like that product idea, a figure it out agent. You just chuck it to them and they just figure it out.
And if you can't, then feed it. Then like, okay, who do you hand it to? It's no different than like I handed a report to somebody, say, hey, this looks wrong. Can you look at it for me? If you have questions, go ask that person. It's like that's what you want them to do, but you want it to do it digitally, and you only want to ask the question on the small fraction you can't figure out.
Yeah, I do think this is a small use case though, because I think this is the only two companies that have sales reps that don't like working in the CRM. All that I've heard is
I'm sure that's true. Yeah,
I've heard just praise of CRM functionality and how fun it is to leave notes. I think sales reps love that. But yeah, I think in general we're kind of on to where, like Tucker said, we decided internally we have to solve it. I'm kidding. Nobody likes leaving notes. It's fine. And what we're talking about is reducing that barrier of entry, right? It's not like you click, log in, password, leave my OneNote. You're, you know, shoot a phone call. You call in, you say, leave a note on this customer, and it just does it. That's what our hackathon thing did, which was sick.
That whole project sounded really cool.
It was sick. The guys that built it are brilliant. I was really just an anchor on the team, if we're honest. So
Andrew, did you do hackathon?
No, I never had that hackathon. Danny always tells me I should go and get something built that I need done. So it's probably
not
true.
A bad idea.
I know. I just have to make sure that I end up with at least like 2 strategies folks on my team, so they listen. So that the team listens to me, because then I can have some plants on the team. And
I think you would do well.
Then I can be like, okay, Ryan, go install it.
Perfect. I've got my product. We don't even need to present. No, I think you would do well to just see what happens. Like for you specifically, you're constantly thinking about, for instance, how do I get people getting data in the system easier? Things like this will give you ideas. And then you could present it. That's, like I said, 50% of those competitions is how well it's presented.
Interesting.
It really is.
The thing that was interesting to me at Summit that I felt like I heard a ton about, and I thought was maybe a little underwhelming, was that and maybe this isn't okay to say, but I'm gonna say anyway. The Project 360 dashboard, I was in, you know, they talked about it from the main stage, and I think it's like that's really great. But my experience at Summit has been after when I've done breakouts, and you know, people come ask me a bunch of questions because I'm telling them how we actually use the system, and that tends to resonate with people a lot more than how maybe like the Acumatica product owners tell you how to use the system. And so I just think like that Project 360 dashboard, I'm like, well, it's not going to be able to figure out man hours. And so like,
you want it to be more.
If you're only a GC and you manage subs, okay, sure, all dollars might be all that matters, but it won't figure out man hours because everybody does that different.
Yeah.
And
fair.
so like, I mean, I like a lot of the features they have is cool. The navigation tree I think is interesting.
I like that concept a lot. I want that to be usable elsewhere. That would be really sick.
Yes, I agree with that. But so like for us, it's like even when we get to a modern UI, get to 26R1 or whatever, we're not going to use that Project 360 dashboard because part of it is we use the system maybe more uniquely than others.
Probably.
And so what we've really leaned more into Power BI, but one of the things that I love about what Acumatica allows is the fact that you can re-embed Power BI, not just in like the embedded tiles, but the whole dashboard into a screen. And so now it's like, well, yes, we're using a whole bunch of Power BI, but as far as my guys know, it's just it's just more Acumatica
on screen.
And so we are developing things basically every day. Because we finally got where our data is getting to be better and better and better. And
talk about how that works, Andrew. I think that's one of Acumatica's limitations on the BI side. How does that work to and we lost Tim. Tim's our other resident Acumatica.
Well, yeah, he's the one that taught me a bunch of it. So Yeah, so basically all of our connections and they go through OData, right? So you develop with the Power BI, we develop with the Power BI desktop app, and we connect through Acumatica's kind of the OData connection, which is super flexible, right? I can go make any GI, publish it to my workspace, check a box that says share with OData, and now I can link up Power BI and be going really quickly. I will say large data sets are hard. So that's one of the things I'm curious about is I know I heard people talking about data warehouses, and that's a bunch of stuff I don't understand. But I do think we might get to the point where we need a different solution, because like one of the things we've started to pull in is I have 2 years of GL transaction history, because we're trying to have like an overhead analysis dashboard, right? That says, hey, let's look at all of this. Well, in order to really provide actionable stuff, it's like, well, I don't just want a bar that shows ending balances. It's like, I want to be able to click on the bar and say, well, what makes up that ending balance? So it's like hundreds of thousands of records and that OData feed. I mean, if I refresh that at the wrong time, it in some cases it stops business events. And so now it's like, well, we can only refresh it once a day. So anyway, so there's some stuff we got to figure out there. But so we connected through OData. Then what we do is we publish it to our workspace in Power BI, and then in Acumatica, I think it's called connected applications, or I don't know, or external resources or application resources,
external connections or something like that.
And so basically, you set up a connection with basically a handshake with your Microsoft instance. And then you go on an individual basis, you basically say, okay, I'll go open up the Power BI connection. Okay. And now it'll say, okay, who's logged in? Well, Andrew's logged in. Let's look at all the dashboards Andrew has. And now I can go and say, okay, that one, I want to bring it to Acumatica. And then I can hit publish like I do on a GI, and it'll give it a new sitemap ID. And so now my sitemap, I just search utilization dashboard and I click it, and in the top, so it's still sitting with the Acumatica workspaces on the left, the margin at the top has a header that just says utilization dashboard. And then inside it is every tab that I want to put in that utilization dashboard that is the Power BI interface. And so we do a whole bunch of stuff with like our shipping on the manufacturing side, where our guys are saying, hey, I want to see what's left to ship. So now our guys can click that. They say, oh, there's left to ship. I need to go make a new packing list. Okay, well, let's go click the link and it'll jump me straight into a new packing list. So.
Perfect.
Hey, people are asking for this.
Yeah, Tom wants to figure out how to do exactly that. So we'll take that framework and move it on. I imagine you met Tom at our customer.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, we will absolutely work on that. And Tom, we'll have a takeaway to follow up on that. I need to write something down.
And Tim's doing another Power BI workshop. So
honestly, it was super useful for us. It was great.
Tim, you could have been still on this call, it looks like. So we'll hold that against you.
Leaving, it's okay.
That's awesome. Great. What else do we need to cover, Selena?
I think we had a little bit about Velixo's new items, their new construction reporting tools. I didn't know if you wanted to go over that or if that was more Tim's realm, but
I can definitely cover what I saw. One quick shout out to Velixo. Yeah. We went to a Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. We went to a little short kind of show and tell with Velixo about their new rollout of some more construction-based reports that are included. And there's a reporting package. I think it's like 40 different reports that they have in Velixo now. Super cool stuff. The main one that I was focused on is the way that they have built an integration to go and get files. So Acumatica has a substantiated billing report that does the backup stuff, but it has limitations. It can only get certain types of files. This one doesn't have that problem. Like it can go and grab everything out there and pull them in. So that alone is a wildly helpful tool because there's more than just substantiated billing that needs file backups. People want files attached to certain invoices, different things in the system, maybe a PO, whatever it may be. They want to pull these files in as backup for it. And you have to basically build something custom, but they have those functionalities at least the basis of them in that Excel reporting package in Velixo. The other thing is we got a live demo from Gabriel over there that was not supposed to be a live demo. They tried to stop him, and I absolutely love someone who's willing to do it live. So that is a huge shout out from me, and he crushed it, no problems. It was of their intelligence. Is it Velixo intelligence?
Yeah,
I'm forgetting that. Yeah,
I think that's what they call it. Yeah.
So if you break a formula somewhere, which is one of the downfalls of Excel, right? You make a mistake in a 4-page length formula, all of a sudden there's errors everywhere. Well, this thing can dig through all your pages, find the formula, fix it for you, and no problems. Like, I think they should figure out a way to make that work in Excel proper, because that would be sick. But I think it's only in their Velixo product right now. But I watched it live, and it was wildly impressive. So kudos to them. That's going to save a lot of headaches. I'm sure, Andrew, you've broken a formula or two in your day.
No, other people break my formulas, Daniel.
I do want to do a quick plug-in here for using ChatGPT for writing Excel formulas. I've had it start write all my formulas.
Amen.
I make them all, I think it's called omnipotent, but like the idea that it can it doesn't matter then how I move columns around. It finds the column name and it always uses the column. Now my formulas don't break. And it's a pain to write the formulas like that. But I just tell Chat to do it. And it gives me this paragraph back. I put it in, and then like I'm good to go, and they're not breaking on me.
Yeah, Tucker, I would echo that, the formula writing on the Power BI side as well. Because Power BI formula writing, it's just very different. And so that has been that's been really useful for us. I will say it still takes like a trained person to say like, hey, that's not doing what I want it to. But it is really good. Also, yeah, just a general plug for Velixo. I don't know if I've ever met anyone that is faster at functional Excel than Gabriel. Ever. Like, I remember the first year I was at Summit, he was like showing me their product because I'd never heard of it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to, like, I can't think as fast as he is typing.
Yep. It's wild. It's impressive to watch.
Yeah,
so
he's awesome.
Yeah. And it was really funny because we were in the room with a couple of their team members, and they're like, no, we have a recording. He's like, no, we're doing this live. They're like, we built a recording. He's like, no. So big shout out there. That was awesome.
Yeah, that is Daniel Collins style for sure.
Yes. Yeah. You never know what's going to happen, and you just got to be ready for anything. We already did a couple on today's call. We've never added a UDF to the modern UI. I just heard it could work.
Hey, glad to see it works, because I plan to use the heck out of it.
Glad to provide value where we can.
But before we Velixo, just a recommendation they do a reporting package, and they'll do a financial Velixo reporting. The first couple of Velixo packages I did myself, they were fine. They worked. And then we ended up using the Velixo reporting. The formulas that came back from there and how good that package was. Like, if you need to go to Excel Velixo reporting, they knock it out.
Yep, 100%. It's good stuff. All right. And then one of the other things, I think you mentioned this already, Selena. I was looking at our overview. UDS transitioning from a quote to a project seems like a small thing, but I believe that's all in the product now, which that was always something we got pushback on. It's like, well, it's same UDF, it's on the quote and it's on the project, but it's not. So I'm not making the trip when I convert. So now you can do those steps and make it push over. And I believe they're also in templates now.
Yeah.
Like you can add them to the template and predefine the UDF for the given template.
Really?
Yep. Which that adds a lot of functionality too.
Yeah, because it means that you can, rather than just using a default value for the UDF for the, like for us in the project, you can tie it to the template itself. That's interesting.
Yep. Different types of jobs can automatically have that filled, which is super cool. Let's see here. The calendar board.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to comment on that really quickly. I think that like when we're talking about these small little updates, like people think it's pretty rudimentary, but those small little updates can make such a big impact, and they're not flashy enough to put on stage and things like that. Yeah. But I think it's always important to highlight some of those like small little lifts that the team at Acumatica have made to kind of improve overall functionality and usability.
Well, and especially like I think about bringing the UDFs into like the summary tab of the projects. Like, I don't know, I'm looking at a project right now. There's 40 fields on the summary tab. Other than like me and maybe our other admin people, our general users use 10 of them.
Yeah.
And then we have 20 user defined fields that we need to use regularly. Mm-hmm. And so the idea that it's like, well, you can kind of redefine people's experience, and it's just like it saves a click every single time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
The idea that you can do that is really, really, I think that's just the idea that you're talking about, Selena, where it sounds really small, but it's like I've got 25 users using the system, and every time they get into it, they have to click to the UDF every time. So.
Yep. We have
100%.
I worked with a sales rep in the past that said his wife gave him a word limit for the day. And so when he hit his word limit, she was like, no, you're out of words. You don't say anything else the rest of the day, because he was just going. And so he'd have to be quiet. But I think people have a click limit, right? They reach that click limit. They're like, I'm done. I'm not doing anymore.
And that goes back to the AI stuff we're talking about, where it's like, well, if I can get them to update their data by just talking or by just sending an email that they're going to send to their boss anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's like you're removing, like you're lowering the threshold of what gets done, of what it needs to happen to get done.
Yeah. That barrier of entry is super low.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well,
absolutely.
Okay. Let's see. Anything else we wanted to cover on this?
Just one thing, and then I think we can wrap up. But the calendar board, I know that was a big update this year in 2026 R1.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can pull up a little screenshot. But while I'm doing that, do you have anything to say about it?
So I'm really excited about this. The calendar board, the old calendar board was okay. It had its very known limitations, and the usability of it was only certain use cases. This new one's more flexible, and I think the way that they're building it is going to make it even more flexible. I'm not sure if it's out in 25 R2 or if it's something in the future, but in talking to the Acumatica team, it sounds as though there's going to be more use cases than just service that use a calendar board. So you can almost, again, caveat here, I don't know this, I'm just kind of extrapolating from what I've heard. You can almost build it to pull in other records to schedule, if that makes sense, which is really cool. I'm not sure if it's going to be super duper easy. I don't know, but it's obviously going to solve the service side. That's still going to schedule service, but pulling in other records, whether it's like materials, whether it's crews and projects and things like that, pulling them all together in one view is going to make for a much more usable calendar board. Because most of our customers have techs in the field and they have crews that do work on jobs, and they usually intermingle, and they need to be able to schedule between the two different areas. So this is a nice visualization. So some folks will create an appointment to get it on the calendar board for that purpose. If we can have a different way of doing that you don't have to go through the appointment process, that's going to be a huge win, I think. So this is the calendar board. This is what it looks like. Mm-hmm. You can see on the left, you've got appointments that need to be scheduled, and you can drag and drop on the given technician's time. And then on the right, you've got the actual map of those appointments. So it shows the route, things like that. There's a lot of usability here, and it's giving you more flexibility than in the past in what you show. What do the colors mean? Things like that are much more usable and user-friendly. So I'm really excited about it. I personally kind of like that top bar that shows unassigned. You can actually see when they're scheduled for versus when they are on the technician schedule. So you can kind of drag them down and figure out, okay, this person's open for that block of time. Seems minor, but again, good usability.
Something
Tim is
doing
a session for it. So if you guys want to hear a little bit more, sorry to cut you off, Tucker.
No,
just wanted to plug Tim real quick.
Thanks for being here, Andrew. Appreciate you.
Something we've been working on with that, with the scheduling internally, is being able to just auto schedule Where I see it going is if you know who's got gaps and holes and you've got an appointment that needs filling, being able to just automatically plug them in and then being able to come to the calendar board and review it. And just like, yep, I accept that this is what they all are. I think getting to a spot where you don't just have to drag just because a person needs to find a hole.
Well, and another plug for the product we were going to build at Hackathon. What if the confirmation of these appointments was done automatically too, with a phone call out and a voice? It says, hey, this is, Strategies Group AI just confirming you're good for 9 a.m. tomorrow with Selena. Yep. It marks the record confirmed. The person reviewing dispatch doesn't have to do anything. Or what do you reschedule to? They find a new appointment slot. Or it could be simple and say, I'll get you in touch and connect with a real person. It could be what times, here's what I've got for that technician in the next week. There's really cool stuff we could have this do.
Yeah, they'll see Selena as their technician and definitely want to reschedule. So
nope, you're working with Selena. When do you want her to come out? That's awesome. Yeah, the calendar board is something I'm absolutely excited about. They've done a good job with that. Perfect. Anything else we needed to highlight, Selena?
I think that's it from my end. Those were the exciting new features, and some old, some in 2025 R2, some in 2026 R1. But
yeah,
that's pretty much all I thought about. Tim handled us covering the customer spotlight, just shouting out Storm Smart, and it was really excited to see them up on stage.
That was cool.
And then also us winning Construction Partner of the Year again, back to back. That's pretty big. I don't know if there was any other big highlights that we wanted to cover. Seattle was great. We'll be back there next year. Hopefully we'll get the same weather. It was very sunny.
I've got two closing thoughts. One of them more goofy, but I've been to Seattle and Portland combined like 4 or 5 times now, and everyone tells me it's always rainy, it's always miserable, and every time I've been, it's beautiful, like clear skies. It's not that bad out. Like, even though it was a little chilly, it wasn't that bad. I think it was actually colder back in Atlanta. So like the weather has been fantastic every time I visited. I think there's kind of a conspiracy about don't tell anybody who doesn't live here. We don't want them to move here. I think it's like an oath you take when you move there. So, but I hear a lot about rain. I've yet to see it. Maybe next year I will.
I think you're lucky.
Maybe I bring the good weather with me. I don't know. And then, excuse me, the second piece is what Tim mentioned, which is we're seeing a spike in what's coming out in these. And I really think it started in 25 R2. And I do think he's 100% on the money. Acumatica has invested the past few years in rebuilding the base, the things that we don't see, to then be able to build on top of that base with the cool stuff coming. It's kind of how I think customers should be thinking about their data sets. You should be building good processes into your ERP. You should be building good data into your ERP so you can take advantage of the new tech coming, because the data is the foundation. And if it's not there, it's not going to work well. So that's my closing line.
Completely agree. Yeah. No, this is fun. And I'm sorry I was late again, but I'm excited that it went really well. We went a whole hour and 30 minutes. Tucker, you have any closing ideas or anything you want to kind of point out as we wrap this up?
Yeah, I think we talked a lot about the modern UI, and I've been trying to figure out how do you articulate, because under the hood, it's a big technical, huge improvement. And the best I can kind of put an analogy to is it feels a lot, if you think about like when you go to Netflix and it's pretty and interactive, and all the things that are enabled when you go to Netflix or you go to kind of one of those web apps. That's what Acumatica, this modern UI, they're doing containers, they're doing reactive interfaces, they're doing it at they've taken all of that technology that's been in other parts of the web and they've brought it into Acumatica. So that's the best analogy I can give, and I think it's just going to be a whole new chapter for Acumatica.
Yeah, very excited about that.
100%. Well, this was great. And I think we should do this again sometime. Maybe the 2026 R2 release, we can run this back. I think it was a fun crowd.
Yeah. If you let us
Yeah.
talk about technical stuff, Selena, we can go on and on. We'll just
Yeah,
keep-
I
we'll just
wasn't
keep
there at the
bringing nerds
beginning.
in.
That's
It'll be
why you
great.
got on some.
We started going real deep down the rabbit hole without you, so we kind of need you to bring us back. So thank you for joining.
100%. No, I think this is great. Thanks, guys. I think we're done here.
Cool. Thanks, everybody.
Awesome.
Hope
Yep.
you learned something.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.